Okay, we are going to, as promised, look at the US region sales. You can save 10% on your eShop credit. Go to switchup.gg, use code SWITCHUP, and you'll instantly save 5% and get 5% back in cashback to spend whenever you want. Alright, let's not beat around the bush, Glen. What are the 10 best games on sale in the US region? Well, let's find out.
Right, let's start off then with the Assassin's Creed Rebel Collection. This brings together Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag and Assassin's Creed Rogue and is currently at 63% off, which matches its lowest ever price. Now 4 is generally considered to be the best in the series of those original run of games at least, and they're both fantastic games for this price. You can't really go wrong.
Sea shanties for the win on the Jackdaw. Happy days. Next up, on its cheapest ever price, we've got Catherine Full Body. The Switch was my first place ever playing this, and it was absolutely bonkers. Now, it essentially combines elements of like a Persona-like adventure with this really weird game that sees you edging your way around these blocks, as you probably see on the screen. And every time you go around, it says edge. Now, don't ask. You're moving up as the rest of it falls down below and you're trying to progress. There are weird sheep creatures. The whole thing's a waking nightmare. And then Catherine rocks up all busty and like enticing. I mean, it's a cracking game. Just don't expect to keep your sanity quite intact.
Absolutely. It's one of those that plays a lot better than you can ever explain it to someone, isn't it? But yeah.
That one's 75% off until June the 26th. And the whole thing fits into a 14GB download.
Lovely, right, the next game is also 75% off and it also ends on the 26th, funny enough, and this is Spiritfarer. Now this is a lovely, quite melancholic game where you play as someone that is transporting the dead across the seas, across the oceans on your boat, and you'll have to fulfill wishes of theirs to kind of grant them everlasting peace, isn't it really? As I said, it does have that touch of melancholy about it, but it is at the same time quite a peaceful game, you know. It does make you feel quite good whilst playing it, with that little tinge of sadness, but it really is quite a beautiful game as well as you're playing it. And at 75% off, so you're looking at $7.49 or your regional equivalent. Really quite a bargain, this one.
Then you've got Tales of Iron. This is, I would say, quite an underrated game. It's a Metroidvania, but with some Souls-like elements in there as well, and it focuses on a little rat and his companions. It has that lovely art style where it almost looks like puppeteering, and I think it was Asdin that did a review of this for us. It has very fast-paced, nice combat, but it's also stamina-based. You will have to think about your attacks. There are lots of different boss fights, loads of weapons. There's a bit of crafting in here as well, and it has the dulcet tones of Doug Cockle, aka Geralt of Rivia, as one of the, I think it's the narrator in the game. It's lovely. I'm hoping that Oddbug Studio, the developer, do some form of a sequel, because I really do think this is worth your time. Now, it all fits into 1.7 gigs. That sale goes on until June the 26th, but do check out our full review of it. It will give you perhaps a little bit more about why exactly we think it's worth it, and especially at its lowest ever price, $7.49. That's 70% off.
Rise up. Fight back.
Next we have Monster Sanctuary. Now, if you ask many people if they could recommend a monster catching, monster taming type game that's quite underrated, maybe goes under the radar quite often, I'm pretty sure they would tell you about Monster Sanctuary. It plays from a side-on view, almost like a platformer, or Metroidvania-esque in that respect, but you'll use your animals to be able to get past certain sections, as well as obviously using them in battle. It's a lovely little game actually, and at the minute 70% off, which goes on to June 25th. So again, about $6 or your regional equivalent. This is definitely one to pick up if you love that type of game and are looking for something you might not have heard of.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure there's some DLC for that one as well. Yeah, so it's worth checking out if you've played the base game. So next up we've got one that I am under obligation to talk about because someone once said, hey, whenever this goes on sale you need to talk about it, and I was like, alright, and I agree. It's Dark Souls Remastered. Now this is matching its cheapest ever price. It's down to $19.99. It's 50% off. Do not be overawed by the prospect of playing a Souls game if you think, oh, it's going to be stupidly difficult. It really isn't. It really isn't. It's actually very accessible. What I will say is that there's a physical of this available as well that is currently on sale in the US regions like everywhere. Amazon, Best Buy, GameStop. You can pick it up for quite cheaply, and it sees you playing as a self-designed character. You've got to think about stamina and things like that, but it's also which weapon you choose. Top tip, go for someone that has a 100% block shield, and yeah, as you creep out of that prison at the start, you won't get absolutely destroyed. There is an online element to this. I don't know how active it is on the Switch version, but people can essentially invade your worlds and either cause you trouble or help you out on certain bosses. Great game, fits into 3.9 gigs, so it's not too chunky. You're looking at potentially 50 to 100 hours of gameplay, and that sale, like many of these others, goes on until June the 26th.
Hotline Miami collection. Now this brings together Hotline Miami 1 and 2, and these are top-down shooters where you need to make your way into buildings, taking out a variety of enemies. One shot and you die and you have to try again. So it does have an element of repetition to it, but what you'll find is you'll start to gauge the best way of busting into rooms and the best route you should take through each of the buildings in order to obviously to stay alive. These are great games. I played the first one of these many years ago now. I think it was on the PSP, possibly the Vita, I can't remember. But as I say, this bundles 2 games together for 75% off. Really good deal. You can get a physical of this. It's not one I see about as often these days, I must say, but when you do see it, it is quite cheap itself, so maybe one to keep an eye out for, but this digital price is very, very good.
Amazing. So the Switch has some of the best farming and sim life games that there are on any platform. It's one genre that it just does particularly well, and one of my favourites was My Time at Porsche. Now many of you will know there is actually a sequel. I think it's My Time at Sandrock, which is on its way very shortly, but they've knocked the price of this one down to $5.99, which is 80% off, and it's a bargain, Glen.
Is it now?
It is a bargain. It really is. Now the only issue I have with this particular game is, or I should say are, the load times when you're going into your house. Other than that, it got patched up, it was in a good state, it runs well enough. But those load times are just a tiny little bit long. If you can get over that, the actual core gameplay of building up your little homestead area, the way that you move into those dungeons, in air quotes, and just the whole Stardew Valley nature of it really worked well for me. Now, if you missed it, we did put a video of a game called Fae Farm, which is coming to the Switch very shortly. We had exclusive early access to that. There's a video of that. We'll pop a link in the description. Do check that out because that one is shaping up very nicely. Now, this one is 5.4 gigs. It comes from publisher Team 17 and developed by Pathia Games, and that sale goes on, you guessed it, until, well, actually, no, you probably didn't, June the 25th.
Next then we have Huntdown. Now this is a run and gun, very much in the style of things such as Contra from back in the day. Lovely pixel art style. Can be played with 2 players, and that's how we played it. We completed it in co-op, and it's fantastic fun. If you have any sort of affinity for those old school run and guns, Metal Slug, that sort of thing, then this is definitely worth picking up. This is currently 80% off, which does match its lowest ever price, and yeah, I cannot recommend this one enough. For $4 or so, you know, if you're having a mate over for the night or whatever, your partner, yeah, pick this one up. Great fun.
So easily.
I'll blow your head off!
Her jacket size says 38. Special.
Then you've got the outstanding Tunic. Now, it's one that we didn't have a review of on the channel, but I played a good old chunk of this actually on Xbox Game Pass, and it's down to $20.99. That's 30% off. And I think the question that a lot of people ask, because they've kind of heard about this one, is how does it run on Switch? Initially, it wasn't great, but they have patched it up, and it's much better now. What I will say is that it's not quite what you expect. It's actually a really difficult game. It has some stamina combat, things like that, rolling around. There's an aspect to the mapping system where it's like a little travel book you open up and the map folds out. It's really nice, and it's like an intrinsic part of the overall game's design. Really good. Little puzzles to solve, some tough as nails combat, some really brutal boss fights in there, but just, yeah, one of those that you will remember. It tells a really nice tale over its, well, I think it's about 12 to 15 hour long campaign, and there's lots of secrets and little bits that you can go back for after that time. So I guess in its genre, it's actually quite a lengthy experience, and yeah, as I say, very challenging. Great little soundtrack, 2.7 gigs, so not too chunky, and that sale goes on until June the 26th.
And the final pick for me then is Shin Megami Tensei 5. Now, this is a game that I reviewed and very much enjoyed. It's an RPG, of course, where you use demons to fight by your side. But what I love about this game, and this series in particular, is the way that you acquire them or recruit them to your team, is that you have to negotiate with them almost mid-battle a lot of the time, which is just such a great concept. And once you have recruited them, you can then fuse them with other demons to create new allies that are even stronger, and you can kind of plug gaps in their defense and, you know, get rid of weaknesses. It's just such a fantastic system. This is 50% off at this moment in time, this current moment in time. Really worth getting for that price. And this is another one, I believe, that goes on till the 25th. So you've got a bit of time to pick this one up.
Amazing. Last but not least, before we look at a few Savaloys, don't worry Glenn, I'll explain everything, we have Xenoblade Chronicles 3, which is down to its cheapest ever price. It's 30% off. Yes, it is a bit annoying that Nintendo don't go below that 30% threshold on their digital sales, but let's be honest, this is probably one of the best RPGs you can get on Switch. Absolutely incredible game. No, the review is never going to come out, I don't think, at this stage, because I'm just playing this forever by the looks of it. But it's a third-person RPG, JRPG adventure. The combat is a lot more fast-paced than what you might be used to in some things like Ni no Kuni, but I found that it was a very engaging story, a very engaging narrative, which isn't always the case with these types of games. Now, you can find a million reviews on it. You can go and check what other people think, but I can't recommend it more highly. There's been some extra content that's come out since launch. You're looking at hundreds of hours of gameplay. If you're looking for a nice chunky experience following Zelda, yeah, consider getting this one. Alright, that takes us then onto the Savaloy selection, Glenn.
Yeah.
Right, which is a few games that are less than the price or equal to a nice red Savaloy.
Well, I've been a veggie for about 20 years, so I don't know how much Savaloys go for these days, but I get your idea.
For one time only, it's a vegan Savaloy. Vegetarian Savaloy.
It's not going mad.
No, and they're slightly more expensive. They're probably about $2.99.
Jeez.
So we're going to just quickly snapshot a few games. $2.99 or less.
Okay.
The first Savaloy is The Last Campfire at $2.99. That's 80% off. This is made by Hello Games, and it's a lovely little adventure title.
You have Rogue Legacy at $2.99, 80% off. A great rogue like this one, where as you go on and every time you die, it will be one of your predecessors, your descendants, that take on the mantle, and there are slight defects in the gene pool which will affect the type of character you have to play with.
Lovely. Then you got Broforce. This was recommended by people on the channel, and it's a really fun co-op one if you want to get a group of you together. It's published by Devolver. That's all you need to know.
You have the original Fantasy Star, which was a game that came out, I believe, on the Master System originally. That's part of the Sega Ages line and is currently $1.99 if you like, or if you want a bit of a throwback RPG.
Last but not least then, one of my highest reviews back in the day. A game I thought was amazing. It's Mulaka. It's a third-person, or Mulaka, I don't know how you say it. It's a third-person adventure that focuses very heavily on the, I think it's like the Mesopotamian culture. I don't know, let's have a look. It's the Taramahara shaman culture. Yeah, I know all about them. Go check out the review. It'll be a bit of a laugh because my voice is all squeaky and high. But yeah, so that's it for this video. There are lots of games that have finally gone on sale in the US region that were actually in the last episode. So we'll pop a link to that video in the top pinned comment so you can go and check out and get some more bargains. As we say, do save yourself 10% on your eShop credit. Using code SWITCHUP, you'll get 5% back instantly and you'll get 5% back in coins.
There's also a link down there to Play Asia. If you're looking to import any games, use the link, use the code STATED, and you can get yourself 5% off of your order from there too. A quick thank you to our patrons and our channel members for your continued support, and to each and every one of you for watching our videos. Take care, and until next time, happy gaming.